Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Benji-Sales live chat. It's so good to be back. It's so good to see everybody. Wow, do we have a wild news day today to talk about. So when I woke up this morning, I had no plans to do a live chat today, right? So I do a live chat every single week, right? We come on here, we break down the video game industry news every single week. We talk about the crazy headlines. I thought that was going to be coming, I was thinking I'll do this maybe Thursday or Friday, kind of let the news build up. Well, today it turns out was just colossal, wild, insane news day. So if you notice, I'm streaming at a different time than normal. So why are we here, right? Why is everyone here? What is the big topic? Microsoft has purchased Activision Blizzard for nearly $70 billion. That is right. You did not mishear me. If you're here, I'm sure you already know. Microsoft has purchased Activision Blizzard for nearly $70 billion. Unbelievable news. This means that Microsoft now owns Call of Duty. They own Overwatch. They own Diablo. They own Crash Bandicoot. They own Spyro, StarCraft, World of Warcraft. I mean, you can go down the list. The amount of IPs they own is unbelievable. And this has now taken them up to 32 first-party studios. Absolutely insane news, insane numbers. There's going to be a whole lot everyone wants to talk about today in regards to this. So what does this mean for Xbox first party? What does this mean for Activision as a whole? What does this mean for exclusivity? What does this mean for Bobby Kotick and all of the allegations, Game Pass, and more? I'm sure there is a ton that you guys want to talk about, so start dropping those questions down into chat. If this is your first time ever as part of my YouTube live chat, the way this works, it's a stream, it's a show, it's 100% driven by you. Your comments, your questions. We do one of these every single week. There's going to be two ways to do that. First of all, of course, there's the free method. You just type a question, whatever you want. It pops into chat, and I get to as many free questions as I possibly can. If you want to guarantee that I get to your question, the way to do that is going to be the super chat option. Type a donation, whatever you want. It alerts me, and I get to super chats immediately. I will say, as always, do not feel pressured. Do not feel obligated to donate in the super chat. This could be, it's a big chat, I'm sure. So this could be one where it might be tough for me to hit all the free questions. I'm just going to let you know. But I'm going to start diving into all that in just a second. Two other news points I want to get to really quick before I get to your comments and questions. First of all, we now found out that Microsoft and Game Pass has surpassed 25 million subscribers. I will be honest with you off the top, a little bit lower than what I would have expected it to be at. So there's a whole bunch we could talk about with that. Is the growth good? Should it be higher? What should we expect? I mean, 25 million is still a lot, right? It's not like they have hardly anyone subscribing to Game Pass. 25 million subs is a lot. But I will be honest, it is a tad below where I thought it would be by now. So we can talk about that. And then, of course, the third big piece of news that came out today was December NPD. Let me give you those highlights really quick before I get to your comments and questions. In terms of hardware, Switch placed at number one. It was the best-selling console of the month. No real surprise there. That's exactly how I predicted it. Number two in units was actually Xbox Series, which, again, was spot on with my expectations and predictions. Thought it would come in at number two. So Xbox outsold PlayStation 5 in both big holiday months in the US. November and December, Xbox came ahead of PlayStation in the US. Pretty important for Microsoft considering how important of a market the United States is for them. So good result there for Microsoft. And then Sony came in third again, like November. However, it was actually a great month. Can't go into like stuff like NDAs and all that sort of stuff, but it was actually a very good month for PlayStation 5 overall. So it actually came in a bit higher than I was expecting it to come in. So actually surprisingly strong result. Wasn't enough to pass Xbox in units. However, it did essentially tie Switch in revenue. So what does that show you? What I've been saying for a lot on this channel and on these chats and on my Twitter, Xbox Series is really carrying Xbox right now. So how does that make sense? So PlayStation 5's revenue was higher, but Xbox's units were higher. So that means Xbox is selling, obviously, a really high share of those $299 Series S consoles because they're priced cheaper, than both the digital and the physical PlayStation 5s. So even though Xbox has more units, Sony generated more revenue with hardware because they're selling at a higher price point. Shows you that, while Series X is awesome, it's really Series S that's carrying Xbox right now. So that's your hardware results. And then really quick, I'm going to hit the top 20 on software. And then we're diving straight into your comments and questions because I know there's going to be a ton today. So number one, best-selling game of the month. No real surprise here. Call of Duty Vanguard takes the top spot. I don't think we're too surprised. It does seem that Call of Duty has, declined. However, still number one. Not a shocker there by any means. Here's the great result, better than expected in my opinion. Halo Infinite coming in at number 2. That's pretty great to see. We've been talking about cannibalization of Halo in markets like the UK, and I definitely think there was some cannibalization here in the United States as well. If you notice, there was no comments about this being like a record-setting Halo launch. However, to be available as a free-to-play game as well as available on Game Pass to still hit as the number 2 best-selling game of the month in a giant month like December for software sales. Great result for Halo. Really nice to see that. I noticed that Matt had mentioned that Halo Infinite was the best-selling tracked PC game, and it was also the best-selling on Xbox. So great. Really good result there for Halo, to be honest with you. Number 3, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, excellent result. Number 4, Madden NFL 22. Number 5, Battlefield 2042, stronger hold than I expected, by the way. I expected Battlefield to drop a lot harder than that, so that's good to see. I suspect that game's selling an extremely high percentage digital. Physical sales have looked like they've fallen off really hard in basically any market you look at. So Battlefield must be getting carried to place that high. It must have a really huge digital margin, like really huge. I'm guessing that game might be like 80% digital or something. Number 6, Mario Kart 8. Number 7, Spider-Man Miles Morales. Excellent. Still placing in the top 10 a year later in NPD. Awesome to see. Number 8, Mario Party Superstars. Number 9, NBA 2K22. Number 10, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Number 11, FIFA 22. 12, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. 13, Minecraft. 14, Far Cry 6. 15, Just Dance 2022. 16, Forza Horizon 5. 17, Guardians of the Galaxy. 18, Ghost of Tsushima. 19, Super Mario 3D World. And number 20, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So there's your NPD highlights, everybody. Thanks for an awesome turnout today. We're already basically up to 100 people in chat, so thank you so much. Let's get rocking. Let's get into your free comments and questions in your super chats because I'm sure there's going to be a ton. All right, Plastic Hearts Podcast here, kicking us off with a 10 super chat. Thank you so much, Plastic Hearts Podcast. Benji boy, what the heck is happening? When a company like this gets acquired, do investors stay on or are they paid off? What happens to Kotick, you think? So there's a lot of stuff that happens in a scenario like this, especially in a situation with Activision Blizzard where it's a public company, right? Big difference here between Activision Blizzard and what happened with Bethesda. Really big difference. The key being Bethesda was privately held, right? So whenever Microsoft bought that company, they essentially, all they had to do, I mean, keep in mind, I'm simplifying this. There's way more hoops and steps legality-wise that you have to go through. But essentially, they just had to pay off these, owners of the company, whoever were the stakeholders in the company, whatever their percentages were, they came in, gave them a bunch of money, and that was it, right? There's no shareholders in terms of like publicly traded or anything like that. They just give the money to the Bethesda owners and they're done. Besides, of course, a bunch of legal stuff. In Activision Blizzard, yeah, there's a lot of investors. So a lot of people are going to get paid off. This is a publicly traded company. A lot of people are going to make a lot of money out of this. Part of the reason why you're seeing a giant price tag attached of $70 billion, they're going to have to pay a lot of freaking money, right? It's almost always much more expensive to buy a publicly traded company than it is a privately held one because you essentially have to pay off all these shareholders and everything, right? A lot different than privately held where it's only usually, unless you have a gigantic conglomerate of privately held people, it's usually held mostly among a few people, right? Whenever I say a few, maybe that's 10, maybe that's 20, maybe it's 30, right? But it's still a lot smaller than a giant publicly traded company with tons of investors. Hugely different scenario that's almost always going to make your purchase price way more expensive when it's a public company. So a giant, enormous, ridiculously huge price tag on this. Not surprising. A lot of investors are going to get paid off, make a whole bunch of money. And in terms of what's going to happen with Bobby Kotick, I think he's gone, right? You're seeing a lot of people be like, oh, I'm disappointed Bobby's still on. Listen, Bobby's still on in that he's with the company. Because keep in mind, this isn't going to finalize. It's not going to be a done deal until I think they're saying like mid-2023. He ain't going to leave before that, right? Technically, this company still needs to be operated and run. Microsoft does not truly own them yet, right? They've made the offer. They've moved forward. Now we have to go through all the legal stuff. But it's not technically a Microsoft Xbox company still for probably about another year, right? So Bobby's going to stay on all through that, handle the transition. But do I expect Bobby Kotick to still be here, in 2023? No, I expect Bobby's gone essentially immediately. As soon as this deal is done, he's going to get paid off, which is unfortunate because, as we all know, Bobby Kotick seems to be, I don't like to go out here and insult people, but seems to be he's pretty much a scumbag. I think we all can mostly agree on that. So it's unfortunate that somebody like that is going to get a giant payday over this. However, the one I would say good news about that is hopefully Microsoft can really make huge changes in terms of the culture of Activision Blizzard through this. And there's no way they're going to keep Bobby on. I'm telling you, there's no way. Bobby's going to be gone as soon as this is done in 2023. Thank you so much for that super chat, Plastic Hearts. Over 100 in chat now. Thank you so much, everybody. Been a while since we had over 100 live. Brock here with the 2 super chat. Thank you so much, Brock. Hi, Benji. Do you see World of Warcraft included in Game Pass PC? Fantastic question, Brock. So do I expect that, like, your subscription, right, your monthly sub for WoW is just going to be part of Game Pass? I mean, it's possible. What a power move that would be. I mean, that would be giant. We're going to get a lot today into what Microsoft can do with these IPs because it's actually pretty fascinating, the synergy they can do between some of this stuff like Call of Duty and WoW with Game Pass. I'm sure we're going to go a lot into that. That would be a power move in a big way to increase subs and increase people playing WoW, right? If you're already subscribed to Game Pass, all of a sudden, wow, I don't have to pay a monthly fee to be also in WoW. I can just jump straight in. That would be huge. That to me, though, it's harder to say if that happens. I think they'll definitely have some sort of base version of WoW in Game Pass. I think that would make a lot of sense. That maybe has some elements of WoW, not maybe the entire full game. Maybe they still do make you pay for that sub, but it's hard to say, Brock. This is a fascinating question. It's hard for me to believe they won't do something with WoW and Game Pass, right? That's way too big of a property. Microsoft wants to increase PC Game Pass subs, right? It appears to me, at least from the outside, and I don't have hard data on this, but it appears to me from the outside looking in that, probably Game Pass is much stronger on console than it is on PC in terms of subscribers. So I would think they want to leverage Blizzard as much as possible to increase Game Pass on PC. That's probably actually part of why they were wanting to do this deal. So I think WoW will have some kind of integration with Game Pass. But if that means truly you no longer have a sub, like if you're subbed to Game Pass, you're subbed to WoW, harder for me to see that, but they'll do something. There's no way they just don't do anything with WoW in it. Thank you so much for that super chat, Brock. Forzathon is back. Can't believe Xbox wanted Rod Ferguson and Mike Ibarra back so bad. Also now Xbox has a studio that can make Banjo, i.e. toys for Bob. Yeah, Forzathon, very funny that Rod and Mike are now back with Xbox whenever they formerly left Xbox. Mike Ibarra was on the main Xbox. He was a Microsoft exec for quite a while. And then Rod Ferguson, as we know, he was heading up the Coalition for a long time. And then, on the Gears of War franchise, then he leaves the Coalition and he goes to work on Diablo for Blizzard. And now he's back. Pretty funny to see. It didn't appear to me that Rod Ferguson left Microsoft or Xbox on bad terms at all. I think he just kind of spent so many years doing Gears of War, and he probably had a great opportunity to do something with Diablo with Blizzard. So a new franchise, probably got a really great leadership position there. So I think Rod's probably going to be not disappointed at all to be back at Xbox. He didn't give the vibe at all he left on bad terms. Mike Ibarra is going to be a little more interesting because anyone that followed Mike during his exodus from Microsoft, it seemed he was, put it this way, not leaving on near as good of terms as Rod was. So I'm very curious to see what happens with Mike Ibarra, if he sticks around or if we see Mike bounce again. Very interesting news there. We'll have to see. But yeah, I will say it's cool to see Rod Ferguson back. I'm a big fan of Rod. He seems to be, from all comments and everything everyone's ever made from him in the industry, he seems to be a pretty cool guy. So that's good for Microsoft. And in regards to Toys for Bob and Banjo, I'm really curious to see what happens here. I think a lot of people are going to wonder and ask, will we see Spyro come back? Will we see Crash come back? Because for anyone that missed it, those studios that made those games, like the newer, remakes the remakes and then Crash 4 or Crash 5, whatever. I think it was Crash 4. They just basically became kind of Xbox and Blizzard support studios. Like they weren't really making those games anymore. Here's what I'll say. Huge mistake for Microsoft if they don't bring Spyro and Crash back. I mean, you want to talk about a PR win because this is going to be met very mixed, right? There's going to be some people very upset about this news today. There's going to be some Xbox fans that are very happy about it. One great way to get a PR win out of this, if you're Microsoft and Xbox, I'm not saying you have to announce this immediately because, like I said, technically they're not a Microsoft company yet. So Microsoft themselves can't go out and be announcing new Activision Blizzard games right now, right? That's still going to come from Activision and Blizzard until this deal's done. But once that deal's done, once it's set in stone, if I'm Microsoft, pretty quickly, I come out and I say, Crash is coming back. And so is Spyro, because both those franchises are pretty darn beloved. Crash 4 didn't sell amazing, but Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy sold excellent, and so did the Spyro remakes. Those sold very well as well. So, and you've heard, this actually reminds me, you've heard Phil Spencer say things like one of the things that he feels Microsoft really needs to improve on is more family-friendly games. Well, dude, Phil, you now own two of the most beloved family-friendly franchises that are out there in Crash and Spyro. If you're paying this money, they better be coming back. So hopefully we see Banjo, hopefully we see Crash, and hopefully we see Spyro as well. Thanks for that super chat, Forzathon. I usually wait to shout this out until the end of the chat, but we're having a great turnout right now, over 120 in chat. Subscribe to my channel if you're not yet. I usually seriously never spam this in my videos. I usually wait until the last thing I say. But subscribe to my channel if you're new here, right? We do one of these live chats every single week. Timmer72299 with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Timmer. Wonder if Raven Software will now stop making Call of Duty games and work on other projects. Plus, keep being awesome. Plus, hit that like button. Well, thank you so much, Timmer, for that super chat. Thanks for always being so supportive and like every chat. Here's going to be something really interesting, right? As this transition unfolds, what happens with Call of Duty specifically? I have a strong theory here, and I actually want to give credit to one of my good friends who's also in chat, Samuel Tolbert. Everyone say what's up, Samuel. Awesome dude. Works and writes for like Windows Central, did stuff for Android Central, a whole bunch of places. I was talking to Samuel about this crazy news when it all busted out, and he had mentioned that he said, I wonder if Call of Duty is still going to be like a yearly franchise. He was saying he thinks it might not be, and actually I think that's a great point from Samuel. And that might free up some of these studios. I don't think, and I could be totally wrong, I think that Microsoft may no longer make Call of Duty a yearly franchise. Because keep in mind now, they have so many IPs, they have so many studios, they have so much content, they have their own shooters that they're going to be wanting to put out, like Halos, and there's, all these RPGs and just like all this content. Do they also really want to like force Smash out? Because we know how like difficult some of these development cycles for Call of Duty have been, right? Vanguard got a lot of attention for it, but it was by far not the first Call of Duty to have development hell. We know that Black Ops 3 had a ton of issues during development. We know a whole bunch of these Call of Duty games have, because they get pushed so hard to get out every single year. That's a great point, and I honestly wonder if we're not going to see Call of Duty yearly anymore. They have Warzone, which is a giant, colossal beast that they can just keep supporting essentially, every single, year, right? Warzone's not going to go anywhere. So why force out a brand new Call of Duty every single year when you don't have to anymore? Because it made sense why Activision wanted one every year, right? They were an independent company. They were their own giant publisher. They lived and died by, their revenue and profit specifically on video games every year. Microsoft's a giant conglomerate, and obviously they want the Xbox side to be profitable as well, but it's not necessarily as important to get a brand new giant Call of Duty out every single year. So actually, I don't think they will. Maybe it's every 2 years, right? Maybe every 2 years you get a brand new Call of Duty game. So if that happens, that does free up some of these studios for sure, right? It's a giant thing to try and get a AAA shooter out with a campaign and multiplayer every single year. So if they even pulled that back to 2, it's every 2 years now there's a brand new Call of Duty. Yeah, that frees up a ton of resources. So I could see it happening, Timmer. It very well could happen that Raven Software or some of these other support studios, they might still be doing some Call of Duty stuff, but maybe they get more opportunities to work on their own projects as well. Could happen, Timmer. Very well could. Plastic Hearts Podcast here with a 5. Benji, all I care about is that a new Tony Hawk or remaster is now possible. Please tell me it is. Plastic Hearts, I think it is. I think you're going to see a lot more variety out of Activision Blizzard now. Again, with Microsoft buying this company, it's going to work a lot differently than it did whenever it was its own thing. When it was its own thing, really Call of Duty was carrying that ship and it was all about Call of Duty. Now it's more about making Activision Blizzard part of a bigger ecosystem, right? Feeding the overall Xbox ecosystem. And one of the ways to do that, obviously Call of Duty is vastly important. They didn't spend $70 billion to not do Call of Duty, right? So when I say we might see other projects get more greenlit, it doesn't mean, Call of Duty's just going on the back burner, they don't care. That's still the main cash cow there. But I think it does open up a lot more opportunities to get more other stuff made, because that all fuels Game Pass having a lot of variety, a lot of different types of experiences. So Plastic Hearts, yeah, I'd say a Tony Hawk remaster or a new game is definitely possible. Definitely, for sure. Yep, I wouldn't rule that out at all. Thanks for that super chat. I think that was your second one. Super chats are just pouring in. Holy cow. Thank you, everyone. Incredible. It's incredibly kind of you. All right, and then we had one more here from Plastic Hearts. Holy cow, Plastic Hearts. I think that's like 4 super chats. Insane. Plastic Hearts Podcast here with another 5. Sony still has their deal with Activision for exclusive or time stuff with Call of Duty. Does that muddy the waters when this deal goes through? It's a fascinating question. We don't know exactly how that deal was structured, so it just depends. It completely depends on the wording in that phrase or in that contract. Here's what I'll say. There's a chance, and again, I don't know this, and here's the reality. No one knows this except for the people that have read those contracts. So Sony themselves, their lawyers and executives are going to know. Activision's lawyers and executives are going to know. And obviously Microsoft is now going to get visibility to all this as well. It depends. It could very well state in the contract that if they get bought out for any particular reason, that expires. You never know. There are wordings in some contracts. I'm not saying just specifically in games, but in anything, that acquisitions can cause terms to change. There might be a clause like that in there somewhere. Maybe there's not. Maybe it specifically states that every Call of Duty period doesn't matter until this amount of year, under no other circumstance, must have PlayStation marketing. It could have something like that. We don't know when the time scale of that contract was going to end. Was that contract going to end next year, right? I mean, if the contract expired, because the thing is usually the way these contracts are structured for like marketing deals, it's either for X amount of games or usually like a set amount of time period, like, hey, the next 5 years, this is the deal. So maybe that contract was about to expire anyways, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, if that runs through 2022 or 2023, that's when Microsoft acquires them. So in next year. So if that's already done, it doesn't really matter. So it's a hard question to answer, Plastic Hearts, just because it really depends on how that contract is structured. And none of us are going to know that. But it's a good question. It's very interesting. Cameron O'Neill here with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Cameron. Benji, do you think this will cause Sony to pivot away from Spartacus? Sony will never offer value that Microsoft can, should they be more like NTD. I'm pretty sure you mean Nintendo there. Okay, let's start talking about what this means for Sony. Let me make sure I didn't skip any super chats before I got to that one. No, we're good. Okay. We're going to start to get into this Sony conversation, and it's an important one. Okay, let me get a drink of my coffee here. I was just waking up when all this went down. Okay, let's discuss this. So, I'm going to let other people get other Sony questions, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot. So I'm going to address each one specifically. So Cameron O'Neill's question is specifically about Spartacus and about the streaming service. So let's really quick touch on what Phil Spencer said about Spartacus and what we can expect out of this thing. Okay, so I've been of the opinion all along for a long time. I get asked this question. I've been getting it asked, steadily for months and even years now. Will Sony offer their games day one on some sort of subscription service anytime soon? And I have been of the opinion that I can't see that happening this generation. I always said, I thought there was a chance they could do that with some multiplayer stuff. I thought there was a chance they could do that with some of their smaller stuff, like Pixel Opus, for example. Maybe you see, something like that enter day one on the service. But it was hard for me to imagine a God of War or a Horizon or The Last of Us hitting day one on a subscription service for Sony. It's so hard for me to envision them doing that because they sell so many units of these games. And then you had Phil Spencer, interestingly, come out with IGN in just the last couple days. I think that might have even come out yesterday. And he said his expectation is that Sony is going to start offering their games day one. That completely caught me off guard. I'll be honest that Phil's thinking that way because I was not. Shows you why Phil Spencer is, in charge of a giant company in business and someone like me is not, right? Clearly Phil Spencer's way smarter than I am. But I didn't expect Phil to have that stance. So that made things very interesting to me. Does that mean Phil Spencer has inside knowledge that this is going to happen? I would say it does not by any means mean that, but could it mean that? Yes. There's no doubt that these companies know more about each other than any of us in the public know. There's just literally zero question. Now, does that mean he knows that this is coming? Again, no, not by any means. He could have literally no idea what Sony's strategy is going to be in regards to that. But the fact he's even thinking that they will, like he didn't say might, he said that's what I expect of our competitor. So he's expecting them to do that, I would think, sometime soon if he's making that statement. So in regards to what does Sony do now? Okay, so do they need to immediately write this second panic button, all our games are day one on our service? I'd say no, unless that was already their strategy heading in. If they already, when they make the Spartacus announcement, were planning on that happening, obviously you continue that. However, if it's not, as I've been suspecting it's not, I don't think they panic yet because, again, as I've been saying, this doesn't go through till 2023. However, it is seriously possible that Game Pass starts to become an absolute juggernaut by the time we hit 2023. Because we're talking, at that point, the first-party studios that Microsoft already bought or created are firing on all cylinders. You have Bethesda now launching their games like crazy, Starfield, all that kind of stuff. And now, make no mistake, y'all, Call of Duty will be day one on Game Pass. I'm telling you that right now. Call of Duty, every Call of Duty is going to be day one on Game Pass, which is colossal. Now, we can debate if that game's going to remain multi-platform or not. I think there's a lot to debate on that. But in regards to will it be on Game Pass? You bet your butt. You didn't spend $70 billion to not have Call of Duty launch day one on Game Pass. So that could potentially, all of this stuff could elevate Game Pass to truly mind-blowing numbers. So if I'm Sony, and again, their plan wasn't immediately to launch their games day one on Spartacus, I at least really start thinking about it. And again, not knee-jerk. Wait to see how this shakes out. Wait to see what happens, unless that was already your plan. But there is a danger that they could let Microsoft start to truly run away with subscriptions. And again, right now Game Pass is only at 25 million. So this isn't like one of those things where they've already dominated the space. But it could happen. If we start to see a scenario where Game Pass is just building to 50, 60, 70 million subscribers, they're going to have to fire back in some way. So it could push them. It could push them to do that. But we need to wait and see. We really need to wait and see. But it's interesting. It's very interesting. Thanks for that super chat, Cameron. All right, Dead Planet here with a 2 super chat. Thank you so much, Dead Planet. How soon do we see the fruits of this on Game Pass? Dead Planet, I suspect that you start to see it fairly soon. I suspect that you start to see Activision games popping up on Game Pass before the acquisition's a complete done deal. You started to see that with Bethesda, for example. Before that was completely finalized, they started to get those games pumped into Game Pass. It wasn't all of them. They really finished that out once it was like kind of a done deal. But you somewhat immediately, like pretty quickly, started to see those games fuel into Game Pass. Dead Planet, I think you do start to see the fruits of that this year. Now, again, does that mean day one releases on Activision Blizzard games this year? I don't think so. I think that waits until the deal is a done deal. But do you start to see some stuff, some legacy games start to pop in there? I think you do, Dead Planet, probably as soon as this year. This year, you probably will start to see it pop in. Yep. I think so, at least. Anthony Johnson with a 5 super chat. Microsoft also announced today over 25 million Game Pass subscribers. Your thoughts? Lower or higher than you expected after the holidays? There's no doubt about it, Anthony Johnson. It's lower than I expected. Let's talk about Game Pass. So Game Pass has hit 25 million subscribers. And they were at, let's see, the last update, the last official update, they were at 18 million in January of 2021. So essentially Game Pass grew by 7 million subs in a year. Now that's like not bad growth, right? Like it's not bad. 7 million new subscribers, that is a lot. 7 million new subs is a chunk. It's a beefy boy. But do I think it's as high as I thought? No. The thing that I kept saying was that I thought that they should be close to 30 million. So there's no doubt it's below what I expected. I think there's some factors there. I think the continued shortages on consoles is going to affect that to a degree. And again, my other guess, and this is just a guess, I'm guessing this isn't growing on PC as fast as Microsoft would want it to. Again, part of why this Activision Blizzard deal makes so much sense. Everybody's focusing on Activision side, the Call of Duties and stuff, which is huge. Don't get me wrong, that's gigantically important. But what better way to bolster your PC subscriber base than Blizzard, right? We all know Blizzard's been in a giant amount of trouble, huge amounts of issues within Blizzard. But if they can get that ironed out and they can start having games like Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 and another Warcraft game and another StarCraft game start hitting into Game Pass, I mean, y'all, this is game-changing type stuff. Again, we need to see if they can clean Blizzard up and get this company functioning right. But it's potentially gigantic for PC subscriber growth. So is 25 million subs where I expected them to be? No. I thought they should be higher. I wasn't expecting like 40 million or anything. I thought they would be closer to 30 million after the holidays, especially off the back of Forza, Halo, and the holiday season. So lower than I expected. Good news is it's still growing. They essentially gained 7 million new subscribers in a year, but that number still needs to get higher. Still needs to get higher, especially for what Microsoft's paying. I think they need to, like, the number, I've said this a lot, the number I always hear floated around out there from chatter behind the scenes, and this is by no means, like, verified to the 1,000th degree. The magic number I always hear floating around is that 50 million goal, right? They need to get there. They will get there. It will take time, but they're only halfway there now. Stuff like this will fuel it massively. We need to see how it grows next year. Here's the thing, as amazing as this holiday period was for Game Pass, where you got Halo and Forza, the rest of the year, we talked about the first 6 months were really light in terms of first-party games. Once they have consistent first-party games hitting every quarter, that should grow a lot. If it continues to not grow like explosively, when you have things like Starfield hitting and eventually, make no mistake, Call of Duty hitting and all this kind of stuff, that should explode. If it doesn't, then there is still a lot of questions about how high they can truly push a subscription service like this. But it is a bit lower than I thought, yeah. Big Fresh 37 with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Big Fresh. Call of Duty doesn't need to be annual now, right? Yeah, we talked about this. They can free up Raven, Toys for Bob, Beanox, and High Moon, right? Reassure me. Big Fresh 37, I agree 100%. I really don't think Call of Duty is a yearly game anymore. I don't know that it takes a 3-year break, right? It might be a little extreme, but I think that this game, I think Call of Duty at least goes to biannual, right? Once every 2 years. I could absolutely see that. Maybe they go really wild and make it every 3 years. That to me is harder to believe, but I really doubt that this is still a yearly franchise. Yeah, doesn't make sense, really. With the amount of output Microsoft has and the amount of different types of games and different types of experiences they're going to want to market, I don't see why you would also want to rush out a Call of Duty every single year on top of all of that. So, hard for me to believe. I think it's very unlikely Call of Duty's annual after this. Very unlikely. Killian Butler here with a beefy 1999 super chat. Thank you so much, Killian. Hey, Benji, not sure if you remember me. Of course I remember you, Killian. But I'm glad to finally be able to catch a live chat again. Of course I remember Killian. Yeah, you used to be in the live chats all the time. Totally understandable you're not anymore. Totally get it. How do you think Sony can compete with a company that can acquire 2 big publishers in under 2 years? Keep being awesome. Okay, now let's delve more into Sony. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of Sony talk here too. I know we're focusing on the Activision side, but there's no doubt we have to talk about how this affects Sony. So, anyone that's been watching my live chats for a while, shouldn't come to a shock for you that Microsoft bought another publisher and that it happened soon, because I've been saying on this for a while it was going to happen. Now, as I mentioned on Twitter, I did not expect that to be Activision Blizzard. In fact, I'm sure you can go back in previous chats and find when we were talking about these questions and I was saying, yeah, they're definitely going to acquire another publisher. And I think multiple times I even said, do I expect that to be EA or Activision? No, I don't. Because I did not expect this. I thought a big publisher was coming. I thought it was, if you remember, I said many times that I thought Ubisoft was a very strong chance, because Ubisoft, first of all, is vastly cheaper than what Activision Blizzard cost them. And they're also in a bit of a rough spot. So I was like, in my head, I was really thinking that Ubisoft had a strong chance of being acquired in the next few years. Activision Blizzard's the one here that's a giant surprise. I don't think me or anyone, and I'm going to tell you something right now, I don't think Sony expected this either. I think Sony was completely blindsided by this news this morning. Now, did they maybe know in the last week? Did they have some forewarning of this? That part wouldn't shock me, but did Sony know this was brewing for a long period of time? I find that extremely unlikely. They probably found out about this very, very recently, and it could have even been today. Now, how can they compete, right? Because that's what a lot of people are asking, and a lot of people are throwing around the word monopoly. I'm going to make it very clear right now. This is not a monopoly, and Microsoft will have no issues finalizing this deal. You're having people like Jason Schreier, who I really respect Jason Schreier, but he's talking about how the DOJ looks down on this kind of stuff. He wants to talk to people about it. I can tell you with 99% certainty that this will go through no issue, because the reality is, even though this is a giant purchase, even though the Bethesda purchase was a giant purchase, to argue, because keep in mind, that's what you have to argue. If you're going into a court of law and you're trying to, stop something like this, you have to argue that Microsoft is in a position where they can become a true monopoly, where basically they make it non-competitive to some degree in the gaming industry. to be very clear, Microsoft is nowhere near that. They're not even the number one platform holder on install base. And then if you want to go beyond consoles, if you want to talk about PC and you want to talk about mobile, I mean, y'all, we're talking even with Activision and Blizzard, a fraction of the market. Like, it's not going to work. Like, I'm telling you, it's just not going to fly to make that argument that's non-competitive now. They're going to say, I mean, Microsoft's lawyers, they have some of the best lawyers in the world. They're a giant rich company. They're going to point out, PlayStation sells more consoles than us. Nintendo sells more consoles than us. You have still many giant publishers like Tencent out there and EA out there. And you have Sony making lots of games and Nintendo. And, they're going to make all of these arguments and they're all going to absolutely work. They're not near a monopoly. It's not even close. So this is going to go through no issues. However, what I will say, and bringing it back to Killian's question, acquiring two big publishers in under 2 years, I actually do think, for everything I just said, I don't think you're going to see Microsoft go for another publisher anytime soon. So I think they can get away with this one perfectly fine, to be honest. I don't think they're going to have any issues closing this. However, if they went for another, right? If they went, all right, we got through smooth with that. Now we're going after EA. I think they'd have a big problem on their hands at that point. I think this is the last big giant publisher they can buy, at least for the foreseeable future. Now, does that mean a few years down the road, things shake out a little bit and maybe Microsoft goes for another publisher then? You never know. But even though we saw Bethesda and Activision happen really rapidly in essentially 2 years, does that mean that I think all of a sudden Ubisoft and EA are on the table in the next year or two? I actually don't. I think at that point, it might start to get a little sketchy for them. Now, could they buy smaller teams still? Other studios? That's still possible. I don't think you see Microsoft go for another big publisher for several years or potentially longer now, right? I think we're going to have a longer gap than what we saw between Bethesda and Activision. Because at that point, it would start to get a little sketchy for them. So they should be fine with this. Now, how does Sony compete? So I have always said on this chat that Sony shouldn't panic buy. They shouldn't make any panic moves. They shouldn't, all these acquisitions. I'd always have people ask me, how does Sony respond? How does Sony respond? How does Sony respond? And I'd always say, organically, just keep doing their thing, keep growing. They're good. No need to panic. I'm going to completely contradict myself. I think they need to make a big purchase. I think they need to, because this is between Bethesda and Activision, and I did not expect Activision. It's a stunning result. They need to do a big acquisition, in my opinion. Now, does that mean they need to buy Take-Two? Does that mean they need to buy Ubisoft? All this sort of stuff. I don't know about that. I think they need a major acquisition, though. Yeah, I do think so. Maybe something on the size of, and I'm not expecting this, by the way, so I'm saying the size of, I'm not saying that they specifically do this, but maybe something on the size of a CD Projekt Red, on the size of a Capcom, on the size of a Square Enix, and some people are going to hate to hear that because they hate to hear about consolidation, and I totally get that viewpoint. I do think they need a big acquisition, yeah. I think Sony does, yes. I think they do. This was too big to kind of ignore. I mean, we're talking about essentially the biggest publisher in gaming, for the AAA space, in terms of revenue, on top of Bethesda. I think they need something big, yes. I do think so. $5 super chat from Dead Planet here. Are people psyching themselves out a second time thinking these bigger games won't be exclusive? Let's not fool ourselves. Xbox will leverage this. Dead Planet, great question and one everyone's debating. How does this work with exclusivity? Here's the reality. Microsoft did not spend $70 billion for all of this to remain multi-platform. Some of this stuff is absolutely going exclusive. There's just no doubt about it. There's no doubt. They didn't spend this much money for some of it to not be exclusive. What games those are going to be, exactly how it's going to work, again, none of us know. For my theories, Dead Planet, how do I foresee this going? I don't think Warzone's going anywhere. Just like Minecraft didn't go anywhere. Just like, Elder Scrolls Online didn't go anywhere. These games that were already out, already across multiple systems. I don't expect that to change. I think Call of Duty Warzone will still be on every single platform. I think Microsoft will still support Warzone on every platform, PlayStation 2. I think there's a chance that mainline AAA Call of Duty, though, does go exclusive. Yeah, there's a chance. I don't think it's a lock, but like the, regular new Call of Duty games after 2023, I think there's a chance those do go exclusive. I by no means think that's a lock, by the way. By no means. That could totally remain multi-platform, but is there a chance of it? Yes. Smaller IP, and whenever I say smaller, they're still big, but not on the scale of something like Call of Duty, like Spyro, Crash. Those are definitely going to be exclusive. I can almost guarantee you that right now. There's no reason for them to keep that multi-platform. Like, there's just no reason to. So they'll use that for sure. I think Spyro, Crash, IP like this, fully exclusive and on PC. So, I think it will be a bit of a mix. Potentially even more of a mix than what Bethesda was. But yeah, there's no doubt. Like, some of this is definitely going exclusive. Like, you don't spend $70 billion to just keep everything fully multi-platform. There's 0% chance of that. The big wild card here for me is going to be specifically the regular Call of Duty. Because again, Warzone's not going to go anywhere. And to me, there's also no debate that Spyro and Crash are now Xbox exclusives, an IP of that size. The big wild card here is going to be that mainline Call of Duty game. Does that go console exclusive, or does that remain multi-platform? Hard to know. Hard to know for sure. Lorenzo here with a super chat. Thank you so much, Lorenzo. Oh man, with this purchase, Sony now has to at least buy one publisher. Either Square or Capcom, or why not both? Lorenzo, I'm going to be honest, I kind of agree. And I was always the guy that on this chat was like, Sony doesn't need to panic buy anybody. I agree. I think they do need to buy a publisher, or at least a very, very beefy purchase. Not something like a Housemarque was. And Housemarque's awesome. This isn't a diss on Housemarque. They're amazing. And not something like a Blue Point Games was. Again, not a knock on Blue Point. They're absolutely incredible. But to be competitive in the subscription space, which is really where a lot of this is building towards, they need a big purchase. Yeah, they need someone big. In my opinion, yes. I actually, for the first time, I agree with that sentiment, that Sony does need a big purchase. Vertical 21 with a 2 super chat. I wonder if Vicarious Visions could be reassembled. Hard to know. Vertical, we're going to have to watch with these studios. Like I've been saying, I do expect for sure a lot more, a lot more games to come back that have been dormant. I expect these studios to get to work on a lot of different projects they couldn't before, where they were fully focused on nothing but Call of Duty for a while. So, who knows, Vertical? There's going to be some major shakeups, but I will say something. I think if you like some of these Activision Blizzard franchises that you haven't been seeing, and you owned an Xbox or PC at least, I think this is kind of good news for you. It's going to add a lot of value through Game Pass, and also, like I said, I think you're going to see some of these franchises really come back. So on that side of things, I think there is a lot of good news with this. Potentially some majorly bad news if you're a PlayStation-only gamer, and also if you're somebody that's worried about consolidation in the industry. I'll be honest, I'm not too worried about it even still yet, but we'll have to see. Mark Heath with the 2 super chat. These super chats are unbelievable today. Holy cow, y'all. Holy cow. It's insane. 2 super chat from Mark Heath. Will this bring in more mainstream attention? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's Call of Duty. And it's World of Warcraft. And it's Diablo. And it's Overwatch. And it's StarCraft. I mean, we're talking Activision Blizzard might not be super beloved by any means among like what we call the hardcore gaming community. But Mark Heath's asking a specifically good question. Mainstream attention. Y'all, Call of Duty, as I just said, even in a declining year, I mean, it was the #1 selling game in essentially the biggest month of the year, December, right? I mean, Call of Duty is still enormous. And the thing is even though Blizzard's in a huge amount of issues right now, Warcraft is still enormous and Diablo is still enormous. I mean, we're talking about some of the biggest IP in the entire gaming industry. This will bring massive mainstream attention. No doubt about it. Highlander001 with a 10 super chat. The New York Times and Wall Street Journal reports that hundreds of Activision Blizzard employees who have been accused of sexual harassment have been fired this morning. Wow. I missed this, Highlander. Listen, this is great news. Listen, here's the thing. I never want people to lose their jobs in typical scenarios. However, as we all know, what happened at Activision and Blizzard sounds like an incredibly toxic workplace. These are the types of people and the types of allegations that, I hate to say it, but you deserve to lose your job. I mean, if you're out here doing these kinds of things, I'm someone that has lost my job before whenever I worked at GameStop suddenly, unexpectedly, and it ruined my life for several years. But here's the thing. The people that did things like sexual harassment, you've ruined people's lives potentially for the rest of their lives. That sort of thing deserves to be punished. And if this is true, that people that have had strong sexual harassment allegations against them, it's good. It's good news. It's nothing but good. So hopefully this means a true change happening within Activision Blizzard. We can only hope, right? Because some of the things that came out of that were horrific. Okay, they were truly horrific. Thank you for that super chat, Highlander. Ashes to Ashes with a 5 super chat. Do you think Xbox is now at the must-have as a gamer service? Yeah, 100%. EA Play, Ubisoft in some form, first party day one, Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard. Yeah, 100% Ashes to Ashes. I don't know how you can't be involved in the Xbox ecosystem now if you're a gamer. Even if you don't buy an Xbox, like even if you play them on PC, or if you buy an Xbox, even if you go with Series S, like I don't see how, and some people can, right? Some people still aren't going to be interested in this stuff. They only want the Sony type of games, and that's fine. I'm not going to judge anybody for it. You can like whatever you like, but in my opinion, is Xbox a must-have ecosystem to at least take part in, even if it's not your preferred, but like at least in their ecosystem? I personally could never see not engaging with Xbox now. And it's funny because I've been really positive on Xbox lately, but legitimately, I almost completely abandoned Xbox last generation. It's kind of funny because I've really had a turnaround of opinion on them. The 360 generation, I loved Xbox. I seriously loved the Xbox 360. I was a huge fan of that console. But then the Xbox One to me was a disaster. And I played way more on PlayStation last generation than Xbox. And towards the tail end of the generation, I started to feel more optimistic about Xbox, but I still wasn't giantly wow, super positive on them. But towards the end, once they started spinning up things like Game Pass, once the One X came out, which I really liked that console, I was like, yeah, this feels pretty positive. Feels like they're moving in a great direction. Now, I just don't see how you skip engaging with them at all. That's wild to me that you could completely just not even touch anything in their ecosystem. Seems crazy to me. But everyone will have their own taste, right? Thank you for that super chat. Vertical 21 with a second super chat. Thank you so much, Vertical 21 with a 5. Toys for Bob and Treyarch, Raven / Infinity Ward being able to work on stuff that isn't Call of Duty is super exciting. So much talent in those studios. Absolutely. Like I said, I've said it many times, so I won't belabor the point. There's some good news here for output, I think. I think we see a radical diversity in Activision's output over the next 5 to 10 years. Trust me, this is not going to be just Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty anymore. They're sitting on a treasure trove of IP. So, yep, great. Great news for those studios in terms of working on other stuff. How long have we been going? Almost an hour. Holy cow. Don't worry, I'm still going for a while because this is a giant chat. But I'm just saying, time's flying for me on my end. Benji here with a 10 super chat. Thank you so much, Benji. Hi, Benji. I don't think we realize the impact mid and long term. Now Microsoft has endless resources for its franchises. How it will work out for Halo Infinite, for example? Yeah, the amount of resources now within Xbox. I sent out a tweet about this. Like, the output from Xbox this generation is going to be staggering. It's going to be staggering, y'all. They have 32 studios now, and many of those studios have multiple games in development. We know Obsidian has like 3 games in the works right now. They've got Avowed, they've got The Outer Worlds 2, and they've got well, it's unannounced, so I shouldn't say too much. But they have an unannounced RPG also in the works as well. It's quite a bit different than the other two. And then you've got, Playground that has Forza Horizon, and now they're also making Fable. And you look at the Coalition, who's working on a new IP, and of course Gear 6. You look at Blizzard, who is technically only counts as one studio in this acquisition, but they've got Overwatch 2, Diablo 4, more World of Warcraft expansions. The sheer amount of games and resources at Microsoft's disposal now are unbelievable. If I was like a Microsoft fan, I would stop asking about acquisitions for a while. Like, I don't think you see another acquisition from Microsoft this year. I could be totally wrong, but just like when Microsoft acquired Bethesda, they essentially took a year off of acquisitions. And my opinion was always that they were integrating Bethesda. This is an even bigger purchase. This is going to take even more work to integrate. Y'all need to calm down on acquisition talk after this on the Xbox side of things, because the amount of resources and studios now to juggle and manage is unbelievable. Does that mean that I don't think that there's going to be any more acquisitions? I won't be surprised at all if there's more at some point. But the sheer amount of resources, and as Benji's saying, we always look at this as in like Bethesda doing Bethesda games and Activision working on their IP, but they could do whatever. They could have Activision teams work on a Halo game if they want. They could have Bethesda teams work on an Activision IP if they wanted to. They can do, the resources are unbelievable. Unbelievable. So yeah, it's crazy. Like, it is crazy. It is truly insane. Big Fresh 37 with a 5 super chat. If I don't get my Xbox Smash Brothers now, I'm going to lose it. Yeah, no better time than ever, Big Fresh. I have no idea if Xbox ever wants to make some sort of Smash Bros type game, but holy cow, the roster they could have now. Between all those regular Xbox IPs and studios, between all those Bethesda IPs and studios, now between all these actors, they could have Crash, Spyro, Master Chief, I could go down the list. Banjo. You could name literally, seriously, you could name now, like, I remember when it used to be a joke, like, you can't really fill a Smash Bros roster with Xbox characters, and it's kind of true. You're like, maybe you could get like 10 recognizable faces in there. Like, dude, now they could have a roster of 50 fighters if they wanted to easily. So yeah, no better time for it. I don't know if Microsoft will want to pursue that, but wow, boy, do they have the IP now to do it. Split End 89 with a 2 super chat. Price for Game Pass / Game Pass Ultimate has to be going up. $5 too much. It will. Yeah, 100% will. So Game Pass pricing is without question going to go up. I actually still don't think that's going to happen in the next year or two. Main reason for that is they're still in a growth phase. Like I said, they're at 25 million subs, and that number needs to be a lot higher. So, like, will they do a giant price hike? And maybe they do. Maybe they do it this year. But I actually don't think they do, because right now I think they still fully focus on trying to get that subscriber base as high as they can before they have to raise that price. It will go up 1,000%, just like Netflix keeps going up. Netflix literally just announced they're raising their prices again. There is zero question that at some point Game Pass will go up. It is not going to stay this price forever. But I could still see them waiting another year or two. They're going to want to gain millions of more subs, I think, before they make that barrier of entry harder than it is right now. If they hit 50 million subs in the next 2 years, and I don't know if they will, but let's say 2 years from now, they hit 50 million, they double where they're at now. I think you'll see it go up. Yeah. $5. I can see, $5 increase. That makes sense. $5 increase for the next jump makes sense. Yeah, that's probably what I would see, Split End. And thanks for help moderating the chat, dude, and just being awesome and amazing. Mariano Pampa here with a 5 super chat. What will Xbox E3 2023 going to look like? First of all, what's up, Mariano Pampa? Great to see you, man. Yeah, this is fascinating. Microsoft's going to have to get at the point now where they can't do one big show per year. Like, it used to be like you always focused kind of on E3 and had like 1 or 2 announcements outside of that. I mean, the sheer release slate is unbelievable. I think they're going to have to do, obviously, one giant showcase, whether that's at E3 or wherever, because it sounds like E3 is never coming back, in my opinion, from the rumblings that are going on out there. I don't think we ever see E3 as we know it back again, but I still think that like a huge summer show is still going to be part of this industry for a long time. It just makes sense to get a lot of info and news out there before we start to get to the holidays, right? You're like right in between the middle of the year. You get all this news and info out before the holiday season. So I still think we still see that big summer showcase, but I mean, they're going to have other shows outside of that too. The amount of content coming from Xbox in the next few years is going to be unbelievable. It's mind-blowing. It's crazy, to be honest. So yeah, Mariano, there's going to be some crazy shows coming up. No doubt. No doubt. Highlander001 with a 10 super chat. Phil Spencer announced by the end of the day that most of the Activision Blizzard games will be in Game Pass. Whoa! For both PC and Xbox by the end of the day? Wow! Well, y'all saw earlier in the chat, someone asked me, and I said, I think you start to see that payoff this year quicker than I even expected. Highlander here just dropping the news on me. Huge. Holy cow. By the end of the day... Y'all, I'm kind of like speechless at this news. This is an insane news day. Holy cow. I mean, Microsoft's making some industry-shaking moves, y'all. I just want to say that. I don't want to say that everyone has to like it, because I get that people are going to have very different viewpoints on all of this kind of stuff. But I mean, this is like industry-shaking stuff that they've been doing in the last 2 or 3 years. It's industry shaking. That's insane. That is insane. Holy cow. Thanks for that super chat, Highlander. Sorry, I'm kind of overwhelmed by all this news that's pouring in. It's like overwhelming. All right, Benji here with a 10 super chat. Benji, please, some guesses from your part. If Microsoft went for Blizzard, Activision, what else was on the table? Where Take-Two, UBEA, and even Nintendo targets. I mean, $70 billion is Nintendo value. Benji, I have a suspicion that Microsoft was looking at every publisher they can. Now, Nintendo, to me, actually, I know that I get what you're saying, Benji, but I actually don't think Nintendo was in discussion because there's a prime reason. I know that Nintendo was actually a Microsoft target at one point in time, right? We know that. Like, it's not a mystery. Even in their Xbox documentary, they talked about how there was a moment where they tried to acquire Nintendo and obviously went nowhere. First of all, we all know acquiring giant Japanese companies is much more difficult for the West. It's actually not impossible. You see some people say it's impossible for a Western company to acquire a Japanese company. It is not, but it is way more difficult through laws to do that. Possible, but difficult. But actually, I don't even think that's the main reason. I think that Microsoft, for as aggressive and huge as they're going with these acquisitions, I don't think they have any intention of getting a platform holder, because I do think that would massively change the debate around a monopoly. Massively. You heard me earlier say, I don't think this Activision Blizzard, even as crazy as this acquisition is, I think they'll have no issues finalizing it, and I don't think it puts them into monopoly territory. Into a giant player, yes. Into, without question, the biggest first party in the world now. There's no debate. It's the biggest first party in the world. Whenever you factor in things like Call of Duty. I mean, once Call of Duty truly is part of Xbox, the revenue it's ridiculous. So all of that stuff is true. However, again, I don't see them as approaching monopoly. But if they bought a platform holder, I think they would get serious pushback. So Nintendo, I don't think was ever a target. Did they have the money to do it? Yeah, it's Microsoft. They're a $2 trillion company. They can basically buy almost whoever they want, unless it's like Amazon or Apple or Google. But outside of that, they can buy just about anybody they want to. So the money-wise, they had the money, but I don't think so. However, do I think that Take-Two, Ubisoft, and EA were on the table? I almost guarantee it. Now that we know they actually pulled the trigger on Activision Blizzard, I mean, that was probably more expensive than EA even, right? That was probably literally the most expensive buy they could make for any third-party publisher. So they were all targets. There's no doubt about it. Now, are they future targets? Actually, like I said earlier, I don't actually think so much anymore. I think this is the last publisher acquisition from Microsoft, at least for a long time. But they were all on the table. Make no mistake. Besides Nintendo and Sony. And Tencent. Okay. JCat here with a 5 super chat. Thank you, JCat. And thank you so much for being a part of the chat. You're awesome, JCat. Thanks for helping mod the channel. I got here late, so maybe you already talked about this, but I want to see Microsoft address the disgusting abuse going on at ABK and remove Bobby Kotick. Yeah, JCat, we talked about that. Turns out it sounds like they fired hundreds of people accused of sexual harassment. And like I said, JCat, Bobby Kotick's gone the minute this is done. He won't leave before that because it'll actually make the transition a lot more difficult. At least I don't think so, or at least not until they're like really close to finalizing it. Because he is the CEO right now, so it just makes it easier for the transition period. But make no mistake, Kotick's gone as soon as this is like done. Make no mistake about that. Bobby ain't staying on. I can guarantee you, 1,000%, he's gone. He just might not be gone until 2023. As much as it sucks and as annoying as it is, it probably makes it easier for the transition for him to be there. But he's gonna be gone. He's gonna be gone. Benji with a 5 super chat. Another one. Thank you so much, Benji. Can we expect all Blizzard games on console now? Yes. WoW on console is a lock, right? For the most part. I mean, 99% of Blizzard's output will end up on console now. There's zero debate. World of Warcraft is interesting because it's already a game that's been out for a long time and it is built on mouse and keyboard through and through. WoW, I would say, might be the one exception, but keep in mind, as of now, Age of Empires 4 is also currently only on PC. Now, I know that they're looking on putting that on console. Whether that will end up happening or not, I don't know, but it's at least something that's being explored, is putting how do we get Age of Empires on console. So, you know, that WoW specifically, I'm not 100% sure because we have seen Microsoft launch games on PC at least first before console, But, I mean, yeah, virtually everything will be console now, yes. Yeah, virtually everything. There's just no doubt about it. WoW is a wild card, though. Because like I said, it's been out forever. If they could get it on console, that'd be gigantic. That'd be huge. The Professor with a 5 super chat. The biggest thing about M&A, restoration of those big Blizzard IPs that have been neglected for years. Absolutely. I'm hoping for true change, culture, and gaming. I think there will be, I think there will be. This is going to be bad news for people that only game on PlayStation. And this is also, like I said earlier, it's bad news if you're terrified of consolidation. I personally am not one of those people, and I kind of never have been in most industries, at least on the media side. I mean, here's the thing. I know people hate to hear it, but like consolidation worked for Disney. It just did. Like it made their content better, getting Fox and getting Marvel and getting Star Wars and like it just did. Like it made Disney Plus better for a consumer. And I know people are going to push back on that. And I understand why people push back on that. I'm not telling you that you're wrong for being super against consolidation, but in media, at least media specifically, I think there's a lot of evidence that consolidation works out for the consumer, to be honest with you. I mean, you look at the value of Game Pass now, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. If you're a consumer and you're remotely engaged with the Xbox ecosystem, the value you're getting is shocking. There's dangers too. There is dangers to consolidation. I'm not going to say there's not. I think there's potentially a lot of good that comes out of this, though. I'm somebody that wasn't super into Activision. I loved Blizzard in the past, kind of was falling off on Blizzard, but we'll have to see. But I actually think this is a good thing for the most part. Timmer72299 with a 2 super chat. Curious when Activision and Microsoft talks started. I'm going to have a bold theory, Timmer, recently. I think this was pretty recent. I could be totally wrong on that. I don't think this was something that was being worked on for a year. I know that sounds shocking considering the size of the purchase, but a year ago, do I think that Phil Spencer approached Activision about buying them? I could be totally wrong. To be very clear, I don't think so. I wouldn't surprise if this happened in the last 6 months. Would not surprise me at all, Timmer. Would not surprise me if this deal came together fairly rapidly after all the accusations, all of the issues in the company, all of that really flared up. And I wouldn't be surprised if Activision Blizzard felt that they were in danger of, like, how do we keep this company going? Wouldn't surprise me if this happened in the last 6 months. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I don't think this was years in the works. Forzathon is back with a super chat. Benji, keep being awesome. Thank you so much, Forzathon. Most people are super positive. I talk about this every chat. Talk about this on Twitter all the time. Y'all are amazing. Anybody with any sort of platform is going to get some hate back. But I will say, considering the types of stuff that I talk about, which is fairly inflammatory topics like video game sales and all that kind of stuff, I get a shocking amount of, like, positive support. So you guys are awesome. So you say, Benji, keep being awesome. You guys keep being awesome. Like, y'all are amazing. Food for thought. Xbox's biggest IP is now Candy Crush. Well, y'all, don't forget about this. Okay, I'm somebody that literally does not care about mobile gaming. I'm like one of the few salespeople that you see. I don't cover mobile gaming at all. And I know that some people that follow me, I'm sure, because I have people that follow me that are investors, like actually a lot of those types of people that are investors and that sort of thing. And I totally get it. It is a massively important aspect of this industry. Make no mistake, even though I don't like super cover it, make no mistake, I'm well aware of how important it is. But I have zero passion and zero care for it. So I just don't cover it. I don't get paid to do this, all right? I cover the things that I want to cover. I'm just the dude who does this in my spare time. But Forzathon is spot on. Don't forget that part of this acquisition, we're all focused on Activision and Blizzard, but they get King as well. That's huge for mobile. So will we start to see some Microsoft IP in the mobile space? You very well might. You very well might. I'm not going to care about that, really. I'm probably not going to engage with it. But having a giant mobile developer like King as part of your ecosystem, could we see more mobile versions of Microsoft IP? Yeah. Yeah, you very well could. It's a great point out, Forzathon. And Candy Crush is massive. It's a great point out. Kellegrim with a 10 super chat. What's up, Kellegrim? Do you think Microsoft is starting to get close to worrying about U.S. antitrust laws like we saw when Disney bought Fox? Have a beautiful day, sir. No, not at all. Thank you so much, Kellegrim, and it's great to see you, man, and thank you for that super chat. I've been talking about this a lot. There are not any issues. You're going to see a lot of journalists tweet about this today and say antitrust and all this. It's not going to be a factor. I can almost tell you that right now. Because here's the thing. Disney still ended up getting Fox. Still ended up happening. And the reality is, the movie industry, as much as people are panicking about consolidation in gaming, y'all, make no mistake, the movie industry is much, and when I say much, let me emphasize this, much closer to monopoly territory than gaming industry is. It's not even close, y'all. We're talking about all these big players in gaming. Y'all, in the movie industry, there's 5. That's it. You got Disney. You got not even Fox anymore. You got WB. You got, Universal. You don't got much, y'all. It's a couple ones. And then it's small studios, small studios making stuff, right? There is more players in that space, right? You have A24 and stuff. But the giant blockbuster stuff, it is way closer to monopoly in the movie industry than it is in gaming. And Fox still went to Disney. This isn't going to have an issue passing. It's just not. There's still way more players. In gaming, we still have, and again, let me emphasize this, I think Microsoft is in danger if they go for another publisher. But as of now, we still have Nintendo, who is way bigger than Microsoft on install base and is selling tons and tons and tons of software. You still have Sony, which is ahead of Microsoft in install base on consoles, still sells tons and tons of software, has tons of studios. You still have EA. You still have Take-Two. You still have Tencent. You still have WB Games. You still have... I mean, do you get where I'm going? Like, it's not close. It's not close to a monopoly. So... this will go through. It won't be that much of an issue. I mean, do I think there might be somebody out there that tries to stop it? Yes, but it will go through. It'll go through. But they need to be careful after that. They need to be very careful after that. Because I could see a scenario. Let's say they went for EA next. I could see that getting blocked. I could. I could at that point. At that point, I could see that getting blocked. If it was a smaller publisher, let's say they went for someone like Focus Interactive or something, I think they'd get away with that. But if they went for Take-Two or EA, I'm not going to say it's impossible it would go through, but they'd be in a lot more danger of that getting blocked. Yeah, they'd be in a lot more danger. Thank you so much for that super chat, Kelgram, and you have a beautiful day too, man. Highlander001 with a 5 super chat. I think that's like your third. You guys have been insane with super chats today. I haven't even been able to hit free questions because it's so nutty. Maybe I'll do like, I watch a guy called John Campia, and he does a companion video. I'm not going to promise you guys this. I may go through your free questions since there's just no way I'm going to have time to hit all these. There's just 0% chance. I'll let you guys know. I may take like the best questions out of the free ones that I was not able to get to today, because it was such a big chat, and do a secondary companion video after this so I can hit a lot of those questions too, because I know a lot of you drop free stuff that there's just 0 chance I'm going to be able to get to. Highlander with a 5 super chat. Can we now have Master Chief on StarCraft? Make it happen, LOL. Well, here's the interesting thing. Like Microsoft, we talked about a Smash Bros type game from Xbox. Something really interesting, though, that Microsoft now has at their disposal with this many IP and this many things is they could do a lot of cross-promotional stuff between these games. Like, so much. Like, will I be shocked at all if in Halo Infinite, eventually, you see the Doom Guy armor as an option? I'm not going to be surprised at all, y'all. I mean, that would be brilliant. How would you not do that? Like, it makes so much sense. Look at how much attention Fortnite gets because they incorporate like these people from all these different IPs, right? Now, do I ever expect you're going to see John Wick in Halo? I really doubt that. But could they do a lot of stuff that maybe won't generate the crazy amount of hype that you see for Fortnite, but stuff that could give big, cool visibility boosts like, hey, Doom Guy is coming to Halo Infinite in terms of you can wear that armor? Or we could go down the list. Tons and tons of cross-promotion stuff, right? Like you mentioned, Master Chief is a unit in StarCraft as like a fun little thing. Yeah, like there's so much synergy they can do between all these brands that they own. You'll see a ton of that stuff. Even if they don't do actual full games with all these characters, you're going to see tons of cross-promotional stuff. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. The amount of IP they own is shocking. All right. I think we're actually finally past super chats. Insane. I'm going to go for another, actually like 20 minutes. So I'm going to hit as many more questions as I can, and then I'm out. I have to be at work today earlier than normal. So thank you for a legendary chat so far, everyone. It's been crazy. Thanks for being so awesome. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We do one of these every single week. We'll be back next week. And also hit the like button if you haven't. Helps the YouTube algorithm. You don't have to, but it does help the algorithm. It helps the channel get found. Okay, let me dive into some of these free questions. Again, I'm going to miss a ton, but I'm going to get to as many as I possibly can. I don't think I missed any super chats. I'm scrolling through looking just as I go up. Yeah, I don't think I missed any subs or any super chats. Okay. Wow, chat's gone so many people in chat that I actually can't even see the top. Wow. Sorry to the people on the top. I'm going to go back through and hopefully I can see those. So I'm going to just start where I can see, y'all. Okay. Phil Morley, hi Benji. Somehow I thought we might see you on here soon. Phil, you were right. I did not expect this news this morning at all. Like, at all. Complete shocker, but I'm glad we got to get in a chat. John F., I'm assuming you're talking about Sony. Square Enix, and honestly should be thinking about Konami as well. I do think they need to get a publisher. Sony, yeah, I would think so. I'd think so. I mean, this is kind of crazy. And anyone that watched my chat, I was never reactionary on this. You can go through and look, and I always said they don't have to. I said if Sony wants to get a Square Enix or something, sure. This is so big, I kind of feel like they have to. I kind of feel like they have to. Or at least someone really, really big. They need something big. Split end. Further from Phil Spencer on the exclusivity issue, I'll just say to players who are playing Activision Blizzard game on Sony's platform, it's not our intent to pull communities away from that platform, and we remain committed to that. It's essentially the same thing he said about Bethesda, and then we saw Starfield and Redfall exclusive. So I'd be not reading too much into it. Like, literally. Like, he said things like case-by-case basis and all that kind of stuff, and next thing you know, Starfield and Redfall are exclusives. So, you know, is Warzone definitely going to stay on PlayStation? 1,000%. So that would feed into his point of, we're not pulling you away. You still have Warzone on PlayStation. And again, like I said, there's definitely a chance Call of Duty remains fully multi-platform. That also wouldn't surprise me. And Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 likely will remain multi-platform because they're already announced that way, right? They're already announced games as coming multi-platform, so those probably will too. So there's still going to be some Activision stuff, no doubt, on PlayStation. But make no mistake, y'all, there are going to be some big exclusives out of this. There's no doubt. I don't think Spyro or Crash have any chance of going to PlayStation. Like those two specifically, Spyro, Crash, and probably Tony Hawk, those are all Xbox exclusive now. I can virtually guarantee you that. We don't know. I'm just saying they can get away with making that exclusive for sure. Call of Duty is the wild card. That's the huge wild card. Yeah, Forcado says what I said. That's the same thing Phil said about Bethesda, which was basically related to stuff like Elder Scrolls Online. Warzone will stay with PlayStation, but new titles will be exclusive most likely. Essentially, yes. It's almost word for word what he said about Bethesda. It's not exactly, but it's very similar wording. So some stuff, there's just no doubt it's going to be exclusive. You don't spend... This was the same argument that went with Bethesda. People were like, they spent $7 billion, you know, they're going to remain multi-platform. It's actually the opposite. If you spend $7.5 billion, you're doing that to guarantee increases to your ecosystem, and the main way you do that's exclusivity. And, I mean, $70 billion? You definitely want a big return off of that. So, some stuff is. Again, I am not sure that Call of Duty won't remain fully multi-platform forever. It totally could. I think almost everything else, though, goes exclusive. Ryan Thompson, do you think that this acquisition will help Overwatch 2? Well, yes. My controversial take on this, Ryan Thompson, is that this will vastly help Activision and Blizzard across the board. Some people are not going to agree with me on it, but I think in terms of culture and development, I think it is going to be a night and day improvement. So, yeah, I would say yes. I do think it will help the development of Overwatch 2, yeah. Dead Planet, is there any rights issues with Xbox putting all Crash Bandicoot games, even the original PlayStation ones, on Game Pass? Dead Planet, great question. I don't know. Again, stuff like this is all down to contracts and wording and things like that. That's for Microsoft's lawyers to figure out. However, I suspect since they will now fully own that IP, they can probably do whatever they want with it. I don't want to say 1,000% sure because I have not read those contracts or how that worked out. I would say, though, I mean, they literally own Crash and Spyro now once this deal's finalized. So I would think they can do whatever they want with it. But maybe there's some sort of weird thing in the contract. I don't know. But more than likely, they can do whatever they want with those games. Danger Man, I wonder if Steam will get a form of Game Pass because that is a huge opportunity. It's the biggest. We talked about that in the chat before. Game Pass on Steam would be a legitimate game changer. Part of the thing that's holding Game Pass back on PC is people are so attached to Steam. They don't want to go outside of the Steam ecosystem to play their games. Even if Game Pass is great value, a lot of people, look how hard it's been for other storefronts to pull people away from Steam, even when they're giving you tons of free games and stuff. People on PC love Steam. If they could get Game Pass integrated with Steam, it's a complete game changer. I just don't know if Valve will give them that opportunity, but it'd be giant. It'd be gigantic. Seamus, hi man, hope you're well. I just wanted some clarity to see if you think Microsoft have a potential Marvel Sony deal to bring Spider-Man in. No, I think Spider-Man will permanently be exclusive to PlayStation. Nope, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. That should be PlayStation only for good. All right, I'm going for 5 more minutes and then I'm out. Probably about 5 minutes or so. Like I said, if I might do a companion video after this. Not today, but I might do another one since there's so many questions. TR233, I like this. Now I can buy former Blizzard games and don't think about the Cosby Room each time when I play former Blizzard games. Like I said, I actually think there's a lot of good that comes out of this, especially if the news is true that hundreds of people accused of sexual harassment are gone, if Bobby Kotick's leaving. This could be, and we'll have to see how it unfolds. I'm not a prophet or anything, and neither is anyone in the chat or anything. We'll have to see how it unfolds. This could always go sideways. I think there's potentially a lot of good out of this. Potentially. Andrew Lytle, how do you think this acquisition will impact the continued unionization efforts within Activision Blizzard? Ooh, it's a great question. Honestly, Andrew Lytle, one I don't have a lot of certainty on. I would suspect that this could potentially end the unionization efforts, potentially, but I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea there. But if Microsoft really makes huge changes, fires tons of people, gets Bobby out of there, you'd start to be answering a lot of the demands that people there have. So it could. I don't know. It could impact that though. Brian Crumley, do you think Microsoft will leverage the new IPs for TV or movies? Definitely possible. We need to see how Halo does. If Halo's a big success for them, they might start to go more into TVs or movies. Here's the thing. I think Microsoft is so scarred at what happened with the Xbox One generation in terms of TV, movies, that they're really cautious about that because they got hit so hard for that. I would say, Brian, it's definitely possible, but I don't think that's like a main goal right now. I think it's maybe like a thing they'll explore from time to time, like they're doing with Halo on Paramount Plus, but not like a huge focus. Stanky, Mike posted a smiley face on Twitter after the announcement. Yeah, I'm curious how Mike feels about that. He seemed upset when he left Microsoft, and I don't know Mike Ibarra, but he was tweeting some spicy takes right after he left Microsoft, so I'm very curious. Deadly 8, I think I answered this. Can someone super chat the most important question, which is, can Microsoft buy even more publishers, or would antitrust monopoly laws prevent that from doing that? Said it a bunch. Antitrust laws specifically don't flat out say they can't do it, but I just don't think Microsoft will risk it. So I don't think we see any more publishers for quite a while, at least not giant ones. Again, someone like a Focus Interactive, like a small publisher maybe, but I don't think you see EA, Take-Two, Ubisoft, any of that type of stuff. Danger Man, Modern Warfare 2 will definitely be on PlayStation. Absolutely. Yeah, Modern Warfare 2 is already a lock because that's going to come out this year and the acquisition's not even complete until next year. So Modern Warfare 2, there's no debate. That game will be on PlayStation. The next Call of Duty after that, that's where things get interesting. That's where things get interesting. But Modern Warfare 2 this year at least is definitely still going to be on PlayStation. No doubt. Dead Planet says, LOL, Sony's not buying any publishers. They have the money to do it, Dead Planet. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Now, Take-Two or EA? No. Capcom? Yeah, they have the money to buy Capcom. Square Enix? Yeah, they have the money to buy Square Enix. If they will, I don't know. But they can, yeah. Dead Planet, they absolutely. That's a myth that gets thrown around a lot, that Sony like doesn't have any money that I see, which is weird. And I'm not saying Dead Planet's saying that, but this is something that pops up a lot. They're like, Sony doesn't have. Now, do they have the type of money Microsoft has? No, it's not even close. Microsoft's literally a $2 trillion company. It's in a league of its own. But it ain't like Sony's like some broke company. They have billions of dollars they can spend if they want to. So I don't know that they'll buy someone like a Capcom or a Square Enix, but they absolutely have the capital to do it if they want to, yeah. Sorry, lots of just talking here, which is totally fine. I'm just trying to pick out the questions before we bounce. Ashu Neji, Reset Era had a meltdown. That does not surprise me at all, Ashu Neji. Twitter's having a meltdown. Even some media members are having meltdowns. I ain't going to name any names. The gaming industry is the sea of hot takes. That's all I'll say. People love to throw hot takes out there. And you don't have to be happy about this, by the way. I totally get people that are upset about it. So I want to be very clear about that. I land on the side that's more optimistic about this, but that's because I'm a fully multi-platform gamer, play on everything, and also I'm not somebody that's terrified of consolidation. However, again, if you're PlayStation only, or you're really scared of consolidation, this could be a giant red flag for you. People are going to have different thought processes. Consolidation doesn't really scare me, to be honest, at all. Stephen McIntosh here. People don't seem to appreciate the game engines they've picked up too, adding yet more to their catalog, never mind the IP. Yeah, Microsoft has a wealth of technology now on top of IPs. They own a lot of engines. They own a lot of IP. It's kind of crazy. I can't see them doing another big purchase for a while after this, y'all. I really can't. I really can't. I might be totally wrong, but I just can't see it. I'll be honest, I'm seeing a lot more positivity in the chat than I expected. I thought a lot of you would be really mad about this, but don't get me wrong, I'm seeing some people. People seemed more mad about Bethesda, which I think makes sense, right? Bethesda games, for the most part, were like kind of more beloved than Activision. Kind of makes sense, right? Bethesda like made games like Fallout and Skyrim and stuff that the hardcore community love. And also Bethesda like didn't have any controversy within it of being like a crappy company to work for. So at least on the surface of what I'm saying, people seem less upset about this. I think there's more optimism that Microsoft can clean them up, and also like people are less attached to something like Call of Duty and stuff. So I'm surprised to a degree that the backlash doesn't seem to be quite as bad as Bethesda, but at the same time I kind of get it too. Brian Crumley, with all these studios now, do you think Microsoft will develop their own game engine to compete with Unreal Engine? Seems like combining all those engine resources would be a good move. I don't think so, because I think Microsoft's not that concerned with like becoming like a true like an engine out there, like, hey, here's an engine everyone can use. I do think that some of their games will utilize some of this technology they have. I've mentioned it before. I noticed that Aaron Greenberg retweeted my tweet one time where I was like, which this doesn't necessarily mean anything, but whenever I was like, man, it'll be really interesting to see, you know, if some of Microsoft's teams use id Tech because it's such an amazing engine. And I noticed he retweeted that. So I think that you might see some of these engines float around within them, but I don't think they'll just like make a giant Unreal Engine competitor. Hard for me to see that. Sin, they own Prototype as well now, right? Yes, they own tons of IPs. We're all going to focus on the big giant ones that we all think of, but they own tons and tons of different IPs. There's a lot of stuff they can do with this. Prixim, Benji, do you think there's any chance of Microsoft takes Heroes of the Storm and brings it back to the forefront with Microsoft IP in hand? I think that could be massive personally. I won't be surprised if there's something new with Heroes of the Storm. Yeah, that would not surprise me. I know that game didn't massively take off. I'm not opposed to that happening, no. I think that you could see something like that. There's nothing else really coming out of Microsoft in that genre. Part of the whole strategy behind Game Pass, if you listen to anyone at Microsoft talk about it, is a huge range of genres. And they don't really have anything like Heroes of the Storm, not really. So that wouldn't surprise me, Prixim. I could totally see that coming back. Totally. All right. Like 2 more questions and I'm out. Steven Totillo's in chat? Or am I reading this wrong? If so, that's really cool. What's up, Steven? I saw somebody at Steven Totillo, but maybe I'm just reading things wrong. Sometimes pretty big people in the gaming industry watch this chat, I've been told. So it could be, I don't know. I just see Plastic Heart saying at Steven Totillo, but maybe I'm reading that wrong. Oh, Steven Totillo tweeted this. Microsoft set to buy Activision Blizzard at $95 a share, a big premium where it was trading, $59 a month ago. Last February it peaked at $104, then tanked after the lawsuits. Yeah, makes sense. Like I said, anytime it's a publicly traded company, you're going to spend a lot more money. You got to pay way over the share price. So that makes sense. However, that is interesting that Microsoft actually got it for cheaper than the peak. That's pretty good for them, actually. Pretty good. Zinfamous. Hey, Benji, big UFC 270 show this Saturday. Who do you have in the 2 title fights? I have Moreno retaining, and while Ngannou versus Gane is a close call, I leans towards Ngannou a bit more. Zinfamous. 2 really hard fights to predict, in my opinion, to be honest. Gane versus Ngannou is basically a coin flip to me. I'm going Cyril Gane, but I have like no faith in this pick. Ngannou has like probably the biggest punching power we've ever seen in MMA, period. And he literally just has to hit 1 clean shot on just about anyone and the game's over. But Cyril Gane is so technical and he moves like a freaking middleweight, even though he's a gigantic man. I think, and this is a guess, that he's going to be able to use his distance and movement to somewhat slow Francis down in those first round or 2. If he can make it to the 3rd round, like if Cyril can survive till the 3rd round, I could really see him starting to run away with this fight in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds. At the same time, though, I could see Francis catching him in the 1st and putting him to sleep. So I'm picking Cyril Gane, but I have zero faith in this pick. And then Moreno versus Figueiredo, I actually think is going to be closer than like what many people are thinking, because the second fight was such a blowout, and the first fight was really a draw. Like it was a complete insane war. I think this fight is going to look closer to the first fight than the second fight, but yeah, I could see Moreno winning still. All right, one more gaming question and I got to go. I have to literally get ready for work and leave. Danger Man is going to get the last one. I know I missed tons of questions. There may be a companion video coming soon. I'll let you know. But Danger Man gets the last question here so I can go to work. Could Game Pass hit 100 million this decade? Xbox Series outsell PlayStation 5. So we're talking this decade. That's the next 8 years. Could Game Pass hit 100 million in the next 8 years? Yes, it could. It could. I mean, they gained 7, even with this year being not as great of a growth rate as I'd like to see out of Xbox. I mean, they still gained 7 million subs in a year. I suspect some years will have a lot better growth than that, or at least I would hope so with these types of purchases. So 100 million by the end of this decade doesn't seem impossible to me. Like, am I telling you that they definitely are going to hit 100 million? No, but I don't think that's an impossible bar. They're already at 25, so they're a quarter of the way there. Obviously, still a lot of growth to get to that 100 million, but I mean, I think it's possible. Yeah, I could see 100 million Game Pass subs by the end of the decade. That wouldn't shock me. Now, Xbox Series outsell PS5. I've always been of the opinion that there's no chance of this, really. I've always been of the opinion that Sony's global hold is just way too powerful compared to Microsoft. Man, stuff starts to get interesting, though, right? I mean, if Call of Duty goes exclusive, that's freaking big. Here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to predict. Danger Man, I'm going to say, I predict that globally, PlayStation 5 still outsells Xbox Series. I just think that some markets still, even if Xbox has growth, which I expect, I mean, like Europe, mainland Europe is still so dominant for Sony. And a lot of emerging markets still lean really heavy towards Sony, the Middle East, India. There are still a lot of Sony focus there. And here's what I'll predict, though. I do believe that Xbox Series will outsell PlayStation 5 in the United States this gen, yes. Yep, I'm going to say it. I said, like, really for a while that I thought there was a chance that Xbox could do it. I'm feeling way more confident about that now, yeah. I think I'm not going to say it's a lock, but I think there's a good chance, at least in the United States, that Xbox Series outsells PlayStation 5 this generation. Yeah, I think there's a good chance of that. Globally, I'm still going to lean PlayStation over Xbox, though, but I could be wrong. All right, everybody, I'm going to call it there. Thanks for a great chat. Thanks for a giant chat. It was by far the biggest chat we've had on this channel for a long time. Been a long time since we had one that big. Subscribe if you're not already. We do one of these chats every single week. We'll be back next week. Sorry for all the free questions that I missed. Thank you for the enormous number of super chats. It was absolutely ridiculous today. Follow me on Twitter if you're not already. If you're here, 99% chance you already do, but follow me there if you're not. And yeah, I'm going to bounce, everybody. Crazy news today. Stay safe. Play some games. If you follow me on Twitter, I'll see you later today. I'll be tweeting a storm today. And if you only follow me here on YouTube, I'll be back next week. So I'll see you all next week if you're YouTube only. Thanks, everybody. I'll catch you later. Bye. See you. Bye, 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 bye.